What's going on YouTube? Today we're doing a full day of eating. I've had some requests over the last couple weeks discussing what I eat on a daily basis, so I figured I'd show you guys. Let's dive into it. The first thing every single day I start my day with is a black iced coffee. Might be Americano some days and so forth, but this is from Crema in Denver. If you're out in this area, try them. It is amazing. This is like a more nutty blend, but iced coffee to start the day, and then we dive into breakfast. All right, let's talk breakfast. So one of my favorite tips for folks who are trying to stay around the same body weight, body fat, and level of leanness throughout the year is to build in staple meals. Now, this does not mean be rigid and you have to eat the same single thing every day. No. What I like to do is build like a caloric content and macro content that I have an idea of that kind of rolls and ebbs and flows based on what I'm feeling. And so that for me is my breakfast. And that's gonna be pretty much, I eat the same omelet almost every day, but I rotate in different ingredients. And then when it comes to carb source for my breakfast, I rotate that too. So it's a staple in the sense that I know what I'm getting when it comes to totals, but it rotates when it comes to flavor and so forth. So let's look at today's example. Today we're working with 3 eggs, egg whites, peppers, quarter cup of cheese, and 2 sweet potatoes. Now sometimes I'll rotate and do 2 eggs, egg whites, and like a deli cut or something like that with the meat protein content, but today I'm going 3 eggs because I don't have any meat. And then sometimes I'll rotate in a bagel or oatmeal or just do some toast depending on what I'm feeling. Sweet potatoes made it in today because I know I'm gonna be on my feet a lot and I want a little bit more carb content, but also I just love making sweet potatoes with my omelets and cutting them all up and eating them into one bowl. But now let's look at what the final product looks like. Also, pro tip, if you use a spray, be mindful of the serving size. 1/4 of a second is the serving size, and that shit adds up quick, especially when you're just laying it on. So mindful of how much you're spraying. What are you guys doing? With any good diet, the name of the game is consistency. So while what you see is potatoes and an omelet, this is actually years and years of testing different meals and seeing what I like when it comes to taste, feeling, and performance. This meal I know is not gonna make me feel too heavy. So if I wanna go train in an hour, I technically could, but if I wanna work for the next 4 hours, I totally could. So that's why I think it's really important to, if you build a staple meal, look into breakfast a little bit more. If you're not a breakfast eater, totally fine. But if you are, look into creating a meal that helps you feel really good throughout your day, but also perform well if you have to perform. And also, be mindful of flavors and tastes that you like, and then fit them into your caloric and macro total. So with this meal, I try to stay around the same level of macronutrient composition and caloric content, just because, again, it really circles back to my main goals of feelings and performance when it comes to how I want to consume foods and have them kind of interact with my body throughout the day. So my tips to you are find meals, and it helps, I think, a lot in the morning because you don't have to think about it. You can kind of go into autopilot. You can build the meal you want that fit and feel perfect for your body and lifestyle. Don't think you need to cookie cut and fit some perfect meal into your day every day. If you don't like breakfast, skip it, eat later on. If you like to have a meal with no carbs in the morning, do that. At the end of the day, just be consistent and find foods that you can actually adhere to and stick to. Meal number 2, this is like my late morning pre-lunch snack. 2 pieces of Udi's toast, 1 tablespoon of Tafuti cream cheese. Then I have 2 tablespoons of organic peanut butter and a Chobani vanilla Greek yogurt. Normally I'll go plain, but I didn't have any plain left, so we're going vanilla today. Generally, my first snack varies a little bit, and it's oftentimes just regular plain Greek yogurt and a piece of fruit. But today I have a really busy day when it comes to like computer work, so I'm gonna need those extra carbs and calories to get my brain through this. Plus I trained pretty hard yesterday, so I'm trying to keep a balanced macronutrient spread, at least for now, until I get to my training session this afternoon, where I'll probably take a lighter snack when it comes to fat content before that. But this snack, super filling, not too heavy, and a decent amount of macronutrient spread for performance and just overall feeling decent throughout the day. Just cooked up lunch. Today we are having 6 ounces of ground turkey, 4 small red potatoes. We have a 1/4 cup of the light Mexican blend cheese that I always have. And then we have a clementine right here. Now, why did I select this meal? Well, we're training in about an hour to 75 minutes. I wanted a meal that has lower fat content and also higher carb just for energy purposes, and so I don't feel too heavy when I'm training. Yeah, potatoes don't feel that heavy in my belly. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but that's the meal that I'm going for lunch. Generally when I cook lunches, especially before training, they will have some form of lean meat and then some form of like starchy carb. I rotate between sweet potatoes, red potatoes, and then I'll start doing other forms of carbs like rice and oatmeal, similar to kind of what I do with breakfast. I rotate those based on kind of what I've ate throughout the day, or what I've eaten for that matter, and then how I'm feeling and what I kind of want for when it comes to taste. I kind of feel like having some red potatoes with some cheese and ground turkey all mixed together, so that's what we went with today. So work ran long, I didn't get to train when I wanted to, so I needed another snack just for a little bit of energy before I start resistance training for the day, but here is the meal I'm gonna go with. We have a 12 to 16 ounce cup of Pedialyte mixed with this hydrolyzed collagen protein, and then a banana. Super low in fat, super light. Again, I don't want anything too heavy in my belly, but now let's go train. So before I go train, I want to talk about a few tips and questions that I get asked a lot. Number one is on water. How much water is enough? So there's not really a perfect one size fits all equation for this ask. So what I usually do is I'll just have a water bottle with me at all times. This is like a non-stim pump product, but generally what I'll do is I'll just have a water bottle around me and try to be a little bit more mindful of how much I'm drinking. Then I scale it based on two things. So if I'm peeing all the time and it's super clear, then I scale it back and I'm probably drinking too much water. But if I'm thirsty, then I've already got to the point of dehydration. So that's how I kind of try to stay in between. And it's just kind of like an intuitive thing once you get going and once you start developing regular means of consuming water, it becomes like second nature almost. The second thing I get asked a lot is about tracking. So do I track every day? No. Why is this? Well, I tracked for months, literally almost a full year when I first started tracking and like actually being really dialed in with my diet. And basically what that does is it gets us to a point which I call diet homeostasis, where once we get to a body composition that we love and we're comfortable with, once we find foods that work for us and we understand kind of serving sizes after we've tracked for so long, eating almost becomes intuitive. So what I'll do is every other month or every like third month, I'll take a couple days out of that month and I'll track randomly, similar like what I'm doing today, just to make sure I'm still in the ballpark of my goals, and then I'll scale from there. And now obviously, if my body fat is fluctuating, if my weight's fluctuating, then I'll have to dial it in a little bit and figure out what's going on. But generally, when you've eaten a certain way for so long, it's pretty easy to peg when something is a little bit off and your weight's going up or down and so forth. Generally, it's my weight going down actually and not up, and it's because I'm stressed, I'm not eating. So I have to actually track to make sure I'm eating enough, which I guess is a good problem to have, but it's frustrating as well because then it almost feels like you're force feeding yourself. Another ask I get, so number 3, is on just the overall consistency of my meal timing. Do I eat the same thing when it comes to my timing every day? So do I eat the same like structure? No. As you can see, like my work ran long, so I actually had to push and eat another snack before dinner tonight. I'm gonna be eating a little bit later than I normally do, but that's okay, because if I'm in my ballpark of my numbers, then that's all that really matters to me. And if I'm performing well in the gym, that's all that really matters to me. When it comes to structuring those meals, one thing I will say is that if I eat a snack, if I eat a meal, I always try to have at least like 15 to 20 grams of protein in that meal, basically because I'm constantly trying to recover and grow. So I wanna keep protein synthesis going in my body. So having a high carb meal, for example, with not a lot of protein, it doesn't do a lot for my satiation. And because I'm lower body fat, I actually really feel that plummet in my blood sugar after. So I have to be a little bit more mindful of the macro spread when I'm eating meals. And that's just honestly a good habit to get in all around, is making sure you're having some protein source at every meal and snack, because it helps with satiation, helps protein synthesis, and it helps uptick your total for the day. And that way you're not struggling with, let's say, an hour left before you go to bed and you have to make up 40 grams of protein, and you've already tapped your macros for fat and carbs. So that's another tip that I like to use. Hopefully these 3 help you. These are really kind of like, they become intuitive as they get ingrained in your day-to-day. And that's the whole goal here. Like, there's no point to be rigid to the point of where you're stressing yourself out making yourself miserable every day. It's gonna be stressful for the first few months when it comes to tracking and really dialing in your diet. However, if you put in the work early on and you really start to pay attention and assess and look at trends when it comes to your diet, that's when the long-term gains come, and that's when you get to actually maintain and live intuitively when it comes to eating and not stress it too much and still maintain that level that you love. Just wrapped up our evening workout, eating definitely way later than what I would prefer, but it is what it is. But before, obviously, we gotta take our creatine. People ask often, usually like what supplements to take, what's best. Creatine monohydrate is always one of my go-tos. This is just the bulk supplements one. I don't really have a preferred brand, honestly. My preferred brand is whatever is the most cost effective. And since creatine monohydrate is pretty simplistic in nature and there's not a lot of frills to it, and it has good research, go with whatever is on sale or that you can afford. Don't reach for the Crealkaline stuff and all the hydrolyzed products that are out there that market you for a fucking extra $30. Screw that. Go with your plain old creatine monohydrate. Go with something that works for your budget. But let's dive into dinner. Looking dokey in this thing, it's okay, cause I'm fucking crazy. I'm fucking crazy. Should be videoing this.
I am doing it.
Are you? Dinner at last. So our final official meal of the day is 6 ounces of 99% fat-free turkey, 2 servings of kale gnocchi from Trader Joe's, 2 servings of the sweet potato gnocchi from Trader Joe's, and then a 1/4 cup of the mild Mexican blend cheese, all sprinkled on top. I have a little bit of hot sauce in here too. And then we have a bag of broccoli cuts. So if you've been wondering where the vegetables have been, throughout the day I kind of snack on veggies. Like I have or cherry tomatoes for that matter throughout the day, had some raw carrots and so forth. When it comes to tracking those, I generally don't include those into my daily list. Now, if you are trying to really hone in on your caloric intake, it might be worth tracking if you eat a ton of vegetables, but for me personally, they're not as much of a volume that's gonna make a huge dent. And also, again, circling back to like that level of homeostasis I kind of know how much to eat and how much I'm eating and consuming to not overdo it. Plus, I scale my veggies and eat a lot of veggies at night because the fiber in them really make me full and bloat, and I don't really prefer that throughout the day. So that's kind of my rationale there. Now, when it comes to other supplements I take, I mentioned that I take creatine monohydrate, but I also do beta-alanine and citrulline malate, and that'll usually be in in like a non-stim pre-workout you ever take, or I'll use it like in a pump product if I have one. Right now I'm using an animal pump product, I believe. It's not that great, to be honest, but it gets the job done and it's okay. I'm definitely gonna change up after this one, but I'll show you what we're having for dessert. So we're gonna wrap up our day with this so delicious, dairy-free, little tiny baby ice cream sandwich. It's like the perfect icing on top for a full day of eating. So we're finishing the day with a total of 3,300-ish calories here. And then we have, when it comes to our totals, we have 405 grams of carbs, 85 grams of fat, and 211 grams of protein. Now, I'm 6 foot, I'm about 182-ish pounds, and my goal is to slowly gain a little bit of size, mass, and weight. So that's why my calories are around like 34-ish hundred right now, 33-ish hundred. And those will ebb and flow a little bit depending on the week and so forth, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this full day of eating. I plan on doing a little bit more with nutrition content and so forth, especially when it comes to tips in the kitchen and when it comes to eating out of like the conventional norm of what's already perpetuated a lot out there. So hopefully you liked this video. If you didn't, drop a comment. If you did, drop a comment. And as always, subscribe. Thank you.